Hello, and welcome to Mr. Marr's 3-Minute History. Quick summaries about a range of different history topics. Today we're going back to the time of the Great War, and we're looking at something called the Defence of the Realm Act, which is sometimes shortened to DORA. This was one of the main laws passed by the British government during the war, and it set about introducing rules that would affect people's lives. Let's first of all consider how information and privacy was affected by DORA. There was different ways that this happened. One element of information was that censorship was introduced. The British government now had the power to tell newspapers what they could and could not print. This was to ensure that bad news stories, perhaps such as war setbacks, were not printed, which would potentially have caused the British public to lose morale. There was also issues about what the British public could say. It became illegal to discuss the war matters in public. This was partly to stop the spread of secrets, but in particular aimed to target those people that wished to protest against the war. Later, some men, including John Maclean, would be arrested and sent to prison for speaking out against the war. Privacy was also affected by DORA. This gave the British government the right to read people's private letters when soldiers were writing to loved ones at home or when loved ones would write to soldiers. Another element of DORA was to do with time and travel. British summertime, which is when we change the time of our clocks in spring and autumn, was introduced, and this was to try and maximise the number of daylight hours to allow as much work as possible. Travel was affected in different ways. People, for example, were limited in the places they could go. For instance, it became illegal to loiter around bridges or train tracks. And in some parts of Britain, a curfew was introduced, although this was limited to certain areas and did not affect most of the country. Another element of DORA was to do with hobbies and pastimes. A lot of things that people took for granted they were no longer allowed to do. For example, people could no longer take part in kite flying or bell ringing, in case these activities might have attracted the attention of German zeppelins who were seeking to bomb parts of Britain. Binoculars were also no longer allowed to be publicly sold. This was obviously to ensure that anyone in the country who wished to spy would perhaps find it harder to do so. Bonfires were banned for similar reasons as well. Another element of DORA was to do with alcohol. The government worried that if people drank too much, they would be incapable of working, so there were various DORA regulations which helped to stop this. For one thing, it became illegal to buy rounds of alcohol in pubs, so people could no longer buy drinks for their friends. The pubs themselves also had their opening hours limited, and alcohol was also to be watered down to make it less strong. All of these actions aimed to ensure that the country was ready for the war and was able to fight to the best of its ability.